Shout out to Cats Pawd.
1 second. A big defensive play for Montana State.
Touchdown, Tommy Milan is electrifying.
Welcome to the Cats Pod. What's up, Podcats? Here we are again, week. Oh no, I didn't even change my subtitle here. It says Week 8 Pick'em Pod still. So we've already messed something up. I'm going to change that live. First, I'm going to introduce our guest because we have a very special guest today, Mr. Marcus Monaco, the Sultan of the special teams. He has decided to join us once again, coming back second time on the podcast. Love to see it. How you doing, Marcus?
No, I'm doing good. Glad to be back. Good to be here with you guys. So thanks.
Nice.
I gotta ask, Marcus. Nobody before this season started, nobody had heard of this kid named Miles Sandstead.
Nobody.
Where did this cat come from?
So he walked on, and he's kind of been a part of the program for the last year. He was joined the team in the spring, and dude's a competitor. Like that's all there is to really say about him. Odds might be stacked not in his favor a lot of times, but he's proved a lot of people wrong, and he's got a lot of trust from us. So it's really cool to see him kind of have an opportunity, and man, he grasped it, and he's really taken a good lead in that room. And obviously he scored 2 touchdowns last weekend via the foot. So he's doing some really good stuff, and really happy he's having a great year.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, he's been. I mean, I hate to throw any kind of jinxes around or anything, but I mean, he nailed a 45-yarder in the last game. Extra points are, I mean, about as automatic as you can get. I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, where has this kid been all of our lives?
Yeah, he ended up being able to have a really good offseason, and then competed all summer, was able to get the job to start off the year, and hasn't looked back. And I'm glad that that's been the case. He's somebody who I think rolls with the punches as good as anybody I've really been around, and that's kind of what it takes to be great in that position. It's a pretty high-pressured spot, so when you can adapt and advance from wherever it is, like every kick's a new kick with him, and he does a really good job of that.
Yeah, he must be a pretty special young kid because that is a big role to step into, especially with the injury early to Casey Kautzman and everything. Just being able to step up into that role and he's been making some pretty huge kicks the last few weeks. So it's definitely very impressive.
No, and he's hungry for it. Like that's the thing that you can't coach him to do at all. He wants those opportunities. He's looking forward to every time he gets to go out there and put some points up for the Cats. So he's doing a really good job.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and then the next special teams thing would be our boy Brendan Hall isn't getting a whole lot of punting opportunities.
Yeah, that's kind of a bittersweet thing when you look at it based off of we're trying to figure out why he doesn't show up in some statistical categories, and to count as a punter you have to average 3.6 punts per game, and we do not. So he's obviously having a really good year when he has to go out there and play, but if the offense is doing their thing, then he doesn't have to go out there very much. So it was encouraging. Every time you don't ever have to send him out there, that usually means good things for the Bobcats. So
yeah. Well, I went down to the New Mexico game, and his leg was absolute money during that game.
Yeah, and especially the one kickoff that went like 25 yards out the back. I think it'd be cool if we could get like a golf shot tracker on that to see if anybody's kicked one farther than that one this year, because I've seen him hit a lot of really big balls in a lot of situations. That might be the farthest one I've ever seen him hit.
Yeah, they need to add a tracker on it like they have for home run balls in the MLB.
That's what we need.
Like that would be awesome. Like they have an exit velocity and everything, you know. The exit velocity on that kick was insane. I can already tell. And like we haven't mentioned it yet, but we have to mention it every time. He is 6'9". It's impressive, you know.
No. He's a special player. He's fun to coach.
Yeah, absolutely. He seems like it. I mean, especially when you talk about his ability to put the ball exactly where he wants it every time. I mean,
Yeah,
it's kind of special to go out. You know, we don't get to see it a lot, but when it matters, you can kind of trust him to really help that defense out. It seems like.
yeah. Him and Taco got a special thing. We basically go out there and call that a foot throw, and they're getting pretty good at that.
Yeah.
Oh, Tacos punt returns they're a thing of beauty.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah,
it seems like he's kind of taken that role from Junior Bergen.
yeah. I mean, and it's special. It stinks that we didn't get the one that scored
Mm-hmm.
to count, but there's been in the one this last weekend was a big return too that we ended up being there. But that's part of it. You want some big returns, you got to play aggressive like that, and that's
Yeah.
just
Mm-hmm.
kind of the nature of the beast when you're trying to be explosive.
So I have to ask you, what were the conversations on the sideline like after Taco got mucked out hardcore after he called a fair catch?
I couldn't believe like I was very upset in a lot of ways for I mean, obviously they tried to say that he didn't wave enough times and I'm like that doesn't shouldn't count at all. Like I think like there's got to be a way that that becomes some kind of targeting after a fair catch because
I
there
couldn't
is no
believe it
there
that it
is no
wasn't
more
targeted.
defenseless player. Like I get that he doesn't just hit him right in the head like they did, like Idaho did, but I mean that 15 yards isn't really enough for those situations. I mean,
No.
and football's a fast game, but it's not like you shouldn't just get a go tee off on somebody. And that's the thing too is like what's stopping anybody else from doing that if it's just 15 yards versus the most explosive player in the conference?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not that big of a punishment. That could be reworked a little bit, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that guy absolutely took his head off.
Oh yeah, and
But
he's just
it was a
sitting there.
clear fair catch. I mean, it was clear to everybody who watched it that it was a fair catch.
It was clear to the ref that threw the flag too. Like I mean, he saw it. So
He was all over it. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh.
Yeah.
that's what that needs some rewording on, because that guy thinks he's protected. You throw your hand up like that, like it's like okay, I'm gonna catch this football, nobody's gonna hit me, and then he
Yep.
just gets to get smoked like that. There's not. There needs to be some protection for that if that's blatant like that. Like if it's a bump, it's one thing, but when you double leg them, like that's
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot more intent to that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there was 100% intent there. That guy. I mean, there's no way you miss that. No way.
Yeah,
And
and he knew
is
he
it
was guilty right away. Like you don't come up with your palms up if you think you did something right. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it, but it seems like a typical Robbie Hout coached special teams right there.
You had to make it about that, didn't you, Eric? You had to make it about that.
I'm gonna get my digs in where I can. All right.
Yeah.
the-
So I
I'll
was.
keep
Go ahead,
go
Marcus.
ahead. I'll keep my opinion to myself on that one.
Okay. That's probably the smart move. So I was wondering a few weeks ago. It seems we watch a lot of these punt returns by Taco, and it seems like sometimes he's creative with the way he gets the ball, and then uses that to his advantage to get the right angle. But other times it seems like he has way more time than we're noticing other punt returners having on the opposite team. Are you guys doing anything special as far as like blocking schemes to get him a little extra time, or is that just something based on the punt?
I think there's two factors to it. Like we want to create as much space for him as we can throughout those schemes, but then you also need a guy to kick it to you.
Yeah.
That's something that we've had a couple times where he's had to fair catch it this year, and it's just like, and if he'd have just put 7 or 8 more yards on that ball, he would have had enough room to kind of get something going because we got the leverage, we got the body positions that we need to get a good return started. It's just if the kick doesn't go far enough, like our number one goal is catch all punts, and we got to make sure that whoever if Taco doesn't score, number 4 needs to be the next guy to touch the ball after they kick it to him. So we can be as aggressive as possible in that, but we still got to be smart and make sure that our offense has a chance to get the ball because they're giving it to us. So
Oh yeah.
we gotta make sure that we're doing whatever we can to set the offense up, and hopefully we're going to be explosive on that unit. And there's a lot of factors that turn into a good punt return. So Like at Northern Colorado, like that was a really special day. We would have had over 200 yards of punt return if the touchdown would have counted.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's also one of the top guys in all of college football right now as far as average punt distance. So those guys are just letting him. I mean, he's a big dog. He can smoke the ball, and
Mm-hmm.
when he outkicks his coverage, that gives.
All right, we lost Marcus for a second. Hopefully he comes back. Oh, there he is.
There he
now
is.
he's back again. Are you just as popular this year? Was that a phone call that you got? Now we can't hear him. Well, I guess we could take a moment while Marcus is getting unmuted here to start going into games from last week.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Let's first game on your list, Cal Poly, Idaho.
Oh, yeah.
Awful lot of points for Cal Poly to put up against Idaho, it seemed like.
Yeah, that was definitely what I was pulling from this game as well. Ultimately, it's hard to win any of these conference games. Like, it can be difficult to win any game. But you would expect Idaho to we were expecting a big win for Idaho in this game, and it did not turn out that way.
Yeah, I mean, a win is a win. A 5-point win over Cal Poly seems a bit low for the kind of team that they've been kind of all year.
Yep.
Other than that, I mean, you had Jack Wagner had a hell of a game, honestly. I mean, he is a good quarterback. There's no doubt about that. And there he is.
There he is.
We got him back.
So we just started diving into the Cal Poly Idaho game, just so that you're aware.
Sounds good.
Go for it, Eric.
Yeah, so we were kind of saying a 5-point win from Cal Poly or from Idaho over Cal Poly seemed a bit low for what we were expecting out of Idaho, especially with Jack Wagner getting another week to heal up. I mean, he still had a really good game, but Idaho's defense seems to be a little porous after the Cat game. So, I don't know, Marcus. Does that surprise you? Only 5-point win over Cal Poly at all?
In some aspect, yes. I think we have Idaho held to a pretty high light because they are a very accomplished team. They got talent. It's kind of one of those things where you're in the middle of a season, kind of coming off of a little bit of a tougher one. Versus Cal Poly's kind of made some noise. Like they've definitely been able to. We've talked about it before. Like when you look at most improved, like Cal Poly's definitely in the mix for having such a better 2024 than they had 2023, and I think they're showing that not only against Idaho, but in a bunch of their other games as well.
Mm-hmm.
It also seems like is when you get into conference play, all bets are off the table. Especially this year, it seems
1,000%. Yeah, the Big Sky's just like that. Like, I mean, this conference will eat itself alive week in and week out, and you guys and me and we all have our own ideas how this is going to go, but who's playing at home, who's playing at the road, who's healthy, and who's a little banged up, like it's week in and week out for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it is nice to see some life come out of this Cal Poly program. It's been a minute since Cal Poly's been even relevant in any kind of conversation.
Yeah, and they're doing some good stuff. They're spending a lot of money over there. They're going through some pretty major facility upgrades. I think they're definitely trending in a spot that's going to allow them to be a program of contention, and that's something that they haven't had in a little bit. But I think they're doing a lot of things to get them on the right track.
The big thing that this game said to me was that I just believe that every team in the Big Sky Conference is a little bit stronger than we might have been giving them credit for. Because, I mean, you look at Northern Colorado pulling off a win against Montana, and then Cal Poly playing a game right until the end against Idaho. These are two teams that you would consider the very bottom of the conference, and they are still very tough football teams. So the strength in the Big Sky Conference, there might be a little bit more than we were giving them credit for early in the season.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at what Portland State and Davis did. Like, I didn't hear your guys' take on that, but I'd assume you didn't think that ball crossed the end zone either. So,
No.
No.
like that game's down to the wire, and Portland, their record's not going to show that they're a dangerous team, but man, they're giving everybody their money's worth. There's no doubt about that.
Portland State is potentially the most dangerous 1-5 or 1-6 team, whatever they are now, in history.
Especially when you have to play at that place.
Because when you have a quarterback like Dante Sacheret, you're always going to have a chance in these games because he is a very talented dude. I mean, he's only looked terrible against the Bobcats, which the defense for the Cats has looked incredible this entire season. So it's like, of course they're going to shut him down that way. But other than that, he's looked very special. Even
in that, you can see the flash that kid has as far as, like, dude doesn't go down. Like, he can make something out of nothing, and then it looks terrible, and then he's got a second wind, a third wind. Like, he is a very good player.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's speaking of, it's funny because Northern Colorado beats Weber, but Weber beats Montana, but Idaho State probably should have got Northern Arizona last week if it wasn't for terrible officiating. Like, it's a weird season, super weird.
Yeah. And especially, I completely agree.
So with that on to Idaho State at Northern Arizona, and there were some really upset people, and a ref apology or a Big Sky apology came out on this one. I'm not sure how the refs miss an extra point. I'm not out there. I've never done that before, but it seems like Idaho State got totally screwed.
Yeah. And I think that the Big Sky kind of confirmed that a little bit this week with how they addressed it. It's kind of, that was bad. I don't know if you guys saw the clip from, I think it was the week prior, where they tried to review an extra point or a field goal, and they said it was above the post, so it's actually an unreviewable play, even though they did review it. So there's been definitely some controversy in the old review field goal. The last couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, and that missed extra point would have set Idaho State up for the field goal at the end of the game to tie the game and send it to overtime, but that wasn't an option because of the missed extra point. So, I mean, if I was an Idaho State fan, I'd be pretty livid about that one.
Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow, and when you look at how everything else played out, like sometimes some things like that end up being irrelevant, and then you get to the end of the game, it's like, turns out that actually mattered a lot.
Yeah. Forced Idaho State to try and go for that touchdown when they really didn't need to have a touchdown in that situation.
Yep. Yeah. Your last drive mentality is completely different, down 4 compared to down 3.
Yeah. But yet again, Northern Arizona prevails, and Northern Arizona, they're kind of sneaky good.
I don't think it's sneaky anymore.
No.
They're dangerous. There's no doubt about that.
They have fully let everyone know that they are a dangerous team. Maybe they should have, just thrown one of these games so they could still be a little bit of a dark horse, but they are definitely not a dark horse anymore.
No, yeah. That win over Sac State, you're like, ooh, I wonder what happened. Now it's like, oh, NAU's here to play. There's no doubt.
I mean, that was one game where Eric called it the entire time, but he hates Sac State for some reason. I think it's because they're trying to go to the Mountain West. Maybe that's why Eric hates them. I haven't really figured it out yet.
No, Sac State are super frauds. Thick of the love. As a Bobcat fan, I have to watch everybody poo-poo the Cats constantly, including the rankings committee, and Sac State gets ranked off of one D2 win, and that's all it takes for them. It's
Oh.
annoying. They get way too much respect. That's my little soapbox on Sac State.
Yeah. This is what I've been dealing with this entire year, Marcus. It just the irrational hatred of a team every single week. Just I don't know what they did to him. I don't know why he's so hurt.
In my defense, Ben, you have the opposite irrational love story with Northern Colorado. So
I just like the underdog, okay?
like a little too much, maybe.
Yeah. Well, it started out as a bit, and then the bit kind of took over my entire life, and now I'm a full-blown half Northern Colorado fan, because I think it's funny.
In the course of this season, Northern Colorado's fan base has doubled by just Ben joining.
Mm-hmm. I'm still trying to get on their podcast, okay? Bear Down Podcast, hit me up. I'm trying to get on there, okay? Any week.
Yeah. But anyway, back to Northern Arizona. That Ty Pennington seems like he's the real deal. Throws for a lot of yards. Pretty careful with the football. Also dangerous on the ground. And I think it's maybe safe to say Northern Arizona might have the best home field advantage. I mean, I know a lot of schools like to claim it, but that elevation seems really hard to get by. I don't know. They don't lose at home.
You're saying best home field advantage outside of the Cats, right?
Well, obviously. Yeah, the Cats are not part of the conversation.
I was like, what are we talking about here?
That other team sees those horses lead the players out on the field and they just pee their pants. I mean,
is that how it goes?
That's all
all other people are afraid of horses. That's what we figured out today.
The thundering of hooves just releases everything they got stored up.
They're just shook after that.
But I mean, that elevation has to be the real deal, Marcus, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it ends up being a factor. Now there's some teams like us in Northern Colorado and even the school over the hill that play at some level of elevation. But even for us, like that 2,000 feet's a big jump even for us. And I know it sounds weird in there. I've only been in that dome once, and if you guys remember that game, it was a freaking nail biter too. So it definitely is a tough place to play, and that's a new staff this year. Obviously, they kind of took over something that didn't look great last year, and they've really kind of swung it in a positive direction so far this year too. So those guys are off to a really good start.
Yeah, good for Northern Arizona, kind of pulling themselves up out of the mud. Next up, we have UC Davis at Eastern Washington, and this game really wasn't as close as, it's a 10-point difference in score, but UC Davis kind of ran away with this one for a bit, and Eastern Washington tried to climb back into it, but old Lan Larison, he reared his head in this game.
Old Lan the man.
Lan the man. Yeah, 29 carries, 182 yards, and a touchdown, and 5 catches for 75 yards. They got apparently people that play Eastern or UC Davis don't listen to the podcast, Ben, because every week I say, if you control Lan Larison, you're going to be all right. But they did not control Lan Larison in the slightest. How good is Lan Larison?
I don't know. I think he's pretty good. I would say he's fairly good. Marcus, what kind of game plan would you put together for a person like Lan Larison?
So not being a defensive coach, I'm not too versed in that, but I know this much. When that guy's got the ball in his hands, it's a problem for whoever's trying to tackle him. And I think he's proved that on a pretty consistent basis over the last 2 years. I know he missed a lot of time last year, but before he got hurt and after he came back, it's like, okay, this guy's way different than anybody else in this conference in a lot of ways. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of logic to that. But I would say that that's kind of the game plan probably everybody takes is don't let number 3 beat you. And it turns out that's a little bit easier said than done.
It's kind of the same thing on the other side of the ball in this game with you just kind of need to contain Efton Chisholm, and he still seems to get 100-plus yards and had 170 in this game. So it's like he probably has the best corner on the opposite team every single play of every single game, and he's still putting up huge numbers. So he must be a pretty talented dude.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the story of both those teams is like UC Davis is definitely a force to be reckoned with, but Eastern's also never really out of it just because their ability to be as explosive as they are. They do a lot of things that even if you got, like you're saying, a 10-point lead, like it never feels that comfortable against those guys because like a lot of teams have found out this year, it doesn't take them much to get right back in it in a hurry.
Yeah.
They put 7 on the board very fast sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they look very dangerous, and then other times they look completely disjointed, and you don't know which Eastern Washington you're going to run into, you know.
I mean, I thought Eastern Washington had the Grizz. I thought they did for sure.
Yeah.
We were all cheering and hooping and hollering,
Yeah.
and then that got spoiled really fast. But the Eastern's defense just can't stop anything.
Yeah.
And they did it again with UC Davis. They gave up 48 points to UC Davis. They 50-something to the Grizzlies. I mean, every game they're in, it's a high-scoring affair. And UC Davis just was able to put up more points than Eastern Washington, which is I mean, we're talking over 80 combined points in this game. That's a lot. A lot of points.
That do be a lot of points.
UC Davis, they got moved up into the number 5 spot in the country. I think that's pretty deserved, honestly.
Oh.
I think they probably really deserved that one. I saw a bit of argument on the old social medias that said that they should be ahead of South Dakota, but that one should take care of itself next weekend.
Yeah, we'll see, because I don't know. South Dakota might be able to pull off something this week. They are a pretty dangerous team. It's been tough to gauge. It's tough to gauge the strength when you're talking between the two different conferences. You know, you don't see a lot of Missouri Valley against Big Sky. I think the only examples we had this year were UND playing against Montana, and then UND playing against Idaho State. So that's all we got. You know?
Yeah.
we got those two. We know how UND is against the Big Sky, but we don't know about the rest of the conference really.
Yeah. And honestly, South Dakota's, they haven't played too many people. Like I'm sure the Missouri Valley is the same as the Big Sky, and they just beat the tar out of each other. But the Missouri Valley is also insanely top heavy. Yeah. And USD hasn't played any of those boys yet. So they get their
that changes for them in a hurry. That conference definitely has its best on best coming up these last few weeks of the season. Very similar to what the Big Sky's got coming up for it as well. But yeah, you look at it kind of started with that matchup last week in that conference, and then there's definitely some big tests ahead of everybody over there. So it should be an entertaining way to watch how the conference ends up finishing out over there too.
Yeah.
There's going to be a ton of exciting games these next few weeks, and this bye week has just got me chomping at the bit to get into these. Because even for the Cats, like the Cats are about to face a very tough part of their schedule. You know, the real meat and potatoes of the season is coming up, and it's all very exciting games.
Yeah, no doubt. And some of that's at home, some of it's on the road. Like it's definitely going to be a pretty entertaining finish in a lot of ways, just based off of what we've done to this point and what this schedule has in front of us.
Yeah. The next game we have, or the last game, I should say, Weber State at Sac State, 2 overtimes and a Sac State win, which I hate to say, but I mean, if you flip a coin enough times, it's going to land on heads once in a while.
Yep.
So, lot of offense in this game. Lot of offense.
Yeah. You said over 80 points was a lot, but when you're getting over, like, right up at 100 points, 99 points scored in this game, that's a lot of points. But they did have 2 overtimes to do some of the scoring in. So
yeah,
That does
Yes.
does buffer it a little bit, but that is exactly how I would expect Sac State and Weber State. They seem like two deadlocked teams in this conference, if there is any, like two very very evenly matched teams.
And that's kind of how the last year ended up. I'm pretty sure. I think Sac State or Weber State beat Sac State at the end of the season, but Sac State still got the playoff bid over them.
Oh yeah,
If I remember right. I can't remember exactly, but I think that's close to what happened. But yeah, Sac State's offense was nuts, and Weber State running back had 234 yards and a touchdown. That's ridiculous. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we've seen both of these teams look really bad at times, and then they come out and drop one like this, and it's like, dang.
Even mediocre teams can give you an exciting game from time to time, Eric. I think that's what this is.
Yeah.
You guys saw that pick six too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the craziest plays of the entire season in a lot of ways.
Wasn't it the running back that threw it?
Yeah, it was like a double reverse throwback, and then ended up that Weaver got eyes on it.
Yeah.
Was able to get it, and it was like a 97-yard pick six or something. Like, it was a huge play.
Just trying to do too much sometimes. That's all that kind of play is.
Yeah. That's a terrible for a running back. You might get one pass a season tops, and you accidentally throw a pick six on it. That's not good.
Yeah, probably not throwing the ball again.
Yeah, he might have
Lost up somebody's band with that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it really sucks to know that we don't get to pick a Bobcat game this weekend. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sure everybody involved with the Bobcats is really happy for a weekend off.
Yeah, and it ends up timing up good for us. Like we kind of said, this stretch that we have, these last 4 games, is obviously going to be the toughest bout so far, and being able to kind of get a little bit of a reset, get everybody as healthy as we possibly can, and hit this thing moving forward is definitely going to be a good opportunity for us too. So we got to take advantage of what the bye week can offer us, and be able to come out on a really good note when we head over to Washington here next week.
Yeah. Shout out to whoever schedules the games, because I think this was the perfect time for a little bit of a break. Let people get healed up a little bit and get ready for these tough games coming up, just like you said.
Yeah, and what a mess our schedule was too, being able to have to figure out how to redo the whole thing in the middle of July or the middle of June, whenever that all happened. So
I think I will hate that team for the rest of my life for what they did.
Yeah, thanks Stephen F. Austin.
No, we
really
don't say
helped out a lot.
their name.
We don't say their name? Okay. This is a new rule that we just came up with on the spot here. Sorry, I can't keep up with these rules anymore.
All I can say is they're a bunch of pussies and didn't want to play the Bobcats. That's about all I can come up with.
Whoa.
They were scared.
Yeah.
They didn't even have to play a game, and they got scared.
Were they scared of the horses? Was that what it was? They didn't want to come down because they were afraid of the horses?
I mean, they heard those horses all the way down in Texas, and
they were like, we don't have horses in Texas,
Yeah. Not these big old mountain horses, man.
These
they're a different breed up here.
Now they're mountain horses. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Should we get into the week 9 games?
Yeah, there's a bunch.
There's so many games.
Oh my God.
We got 3 whole games to pick this week. Marcus, how do you feel about that? There's not even football to watch this week.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting little bout for us too, because I know we kind of steal a day ahead, so it'll be bye weeks are always interesting for us, because you kind of just manage that schedule best you can. But hope to get to watch at least some while you have a Saturday off.
Oh yeah.
So one thing that's really jumping out to me is how is Montana at Northern Colorado the Big Sky game of the week when you have Eastern Washington at Idaho on this schedule?
I don't know. Eastern Washington versus Idaho seems like a way more compelling game. Just because of the way those two teams have been playing right now, it seems like that could turn into something. But I have no idea. Sac State, Idaho State doesn't really make me feel anything. But it's probably just Montana being attached to it and the whole legacy part of it and people living in the past. They made it the Big Sky game of the week.
Maybe the Big Sky Conference knows something that we don't, because they think that this is going to be huge because Northern Colorado is going to pick it off. Let's go Bears!
Let's go Bears. You're on the team now. Welcome to Northern Colorado, okay?
Yeah.
You're with me.
Let's go Bears. I'm here to tell you. Oh, gosh, I can't even pronounce this guy's last name, but Keone?
I have no idea. I don't know what you're looking at.
Their quarterback, Keon?
Northern
maybe?
Colorado, they have had 6 different quarterbacks this year. I stopped trying to keep track after like week 4.
Oh, well, this one that's listed is the passing yards leader, and I'm here to tell you, he is going to have a field day against this Grizz secondary. The Grizz secondary that allows 300 and some passing yards per game to very mid quarterbacks.
Yeah. If Northern Colorado has their starting quarterback back after all this, it could become an interesting game. The Battle of the Bears down in Northern Colorado may become something interesting to actually watch. And it is the first game of the day, so I probably will be watching it,
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if you knew this, Marcus, but we always root against the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
I can join on that club.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I don't cheer for Bears very often, but the golden ones sound like a good choice this weekend.
Yep.
Let's go.
There we go. I think that's all 3 on Northern Colorado. I've never had this happen before. Usually I'm all by myself on an island.
Yeah.
Even
a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while, Ben.
Yeah, once every 3 seasons I find my win. But Northern Colorado, honestly, they've played really tough games. They played a tough game with Abilene Christian, pulled off the win against Weber State. I think they are a more quality team than Eric is giving them credit for. I won't say everybody, But in the Battle of the Bears, I think that they have a decent shot of beating the Grizzlies. And, of course, I'm not going to go back on my picking of Northern Colorado. Northern Colorado is going to win this game. They got the blue and gold. They got the pretty colors. They're going to win it.
Also a tough place to play. A little bit of an elevation jump, environment kind of similar to what Portland is. Like that. I've only been there once too, and it's definitely, you never see anybody play at their best at that place. So their home field advantage is no doubt real. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
That's what I like to hear. The Grizzlies coming off a bye week. We'll see if they came out of hibernation or not.
Yeah.
We know those Bears are out of hibernation. We know that.
Yep. They've stayed out of hibernation. They also had a bye week last week, so, they're still feeling fresh.
Oh, they're hungry. They're hungry, though.
They're hungry. They're a hungry bear.
They tasted some success, and they're going to go find some more.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Next up, we have Sac State at Idaho State. And I feel like Idaho State also has a very strange home field advantage. I heard from some buddies that went down to the Cat game at Idaho State that place is kind of miserable to be inside, period.
Just a poorly constructed dome.
Yeah.
It's weird because the football field goes across. It doesn't run with the building. It runs across the building. So it seems like it's kind of, the football field's a little backwards. And the day that we played, it was like 93 in Pocatello. So it was a very warm dome that day.
Huh.
Yeah, I know the one guy I was talking to said it was hotter inside than it was outside.
I'll tell you what we need to keep going, and Idaho State started this on these road games, is every time we get a fourth quarter Moni Moni playing by the opposing team,
Oh yeah.
that's a nice little spark for the old Bobcat faithful that travel along with us. So um, we need to get somebody at Eastern Washington to keep that up, because that's been a nice little pop from the crowd when we've been able to get that the last two road games.
How do they not know? How do they know? How would they play that song during the fourth quarter during a Cat game? How do they
Yeah,
not know that that's going to be like the ultimate ignition for the Cats?
yeah, it was awesome, because like we had a really good fan base in Portland, and when they lit it up, I'm like, oh gosh, they played the theme song.
Oh no, they're in trouble. They're in trouble.
Yeah,
They did it at the end of the New Mexico game too.
yeah,
Right
they did.
right before Jonesy took that one to the house, they played Moni Moni, and I was there. We couldn't believe. Everybody in the stands was like, "No way, they're playing this song right now."
Yep.
Yeah, and they've done it the last two, so let's get with the PA guy at Eastern, keep that thing going.
We got to figure out what wheels we need to grease over there in Eastern Washington to keep this thing rolling. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. How you feeling, Ben?
I'm
this
feeling
game?
pretty good on Sac State, Idaho State. Just in general, I thought this was just a mental health checkup. My bad.
No. In fact, was
I really don't want to pick Sac State because I have had to shotgun so many beers this year because of picking Sac State. I don't know if Marcus is aware of this, but every time I have picked Sac State, I've had to shotgun a beer if they lose. So, because Eric always picks against me and it becomes a bet, but it's not good.
The I saw those clips. I didn't know what caused that. I figured it was something along those lines. But
Yeah, little bet on the podcast, but I really don't want to pick Sac State in this game, and Idaho State has looked like a quality team throughout parts of the season.
no doubt.
They definitely are no pushover, and having them at home, I really do want to go with Idaho State in this game.
Yeah, me too. Idaho State's due for one, man. They works, or it just seems like they go out. They got. I don't know how it works inside a locker room very well, but my guess is that they probably aren't very happy about the outcome of the last game, and probably going to come out with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. But
yeah,
like I said, I don't really know how it works inside a locker room.
Oh, and I think they're a team that's left a lot of meat on the bone. Like even you go back to our game, like they had some really explosive plays that just didn't connect for them. That were, I mean, that close. And I think it's just going to be it's due time that they're going to be able to put a game together where it's like, hey, this is a showing of how explosive this offense can be. And I think they've showed glimpses of that. And when they get that all tied together, that's going to be a dangerous outfit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you brought that up because that reminds me of a certain backup quarterback for Idaho State kicking Brody Grebe in the head. So let's go Sac State. Let's go.
That's the only thing that could get him onto Sac State. Like the only thing was just that dude kicking Brody in the head. That's it. Now he's gone. He's just left the chat. He's out of here. All right, the last game we have this week is Eastern Washington at Idaho. So two Idaho teams both playing at home this week. Explosive offense, defense that's been hurting the last few weeks. So you would think, based on those trends, Eastern Washington has a pretty good shot in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The defense for Idaho has seemed to not really want to. I mean, giving up. I mean, Cal Poly may be on the upswing, but it's still Cal Poly, and they gave up a lot of points to Cal Poly, and Eastern Washington's going to be able to find some ways to score.
Mm-hmm.
So I still think Idaho is the better team by a substantial margin, but maybe I'm just, giving them a lot of credit for what they've done the last few years. But I still got to believe that Idaho is going to win this game.
I mean, when you look at it, I think it comes down to how many opportunities Idaho going to let Eastern go on offense, because I think everybody's kind of learned that if you give Eastern a lot of opportunities, they're going to do something with it. So if they're able can be efficient and control the clock and kind of keep that defense out on the field, then that's got to be the logic that they have. Real similar to what they did in the game when we were over there last year. If Idaho's offense is on the field, um, that's going to be a really good situation for them to be in.
Well, here's a question, Marcus. You obviously know more about these teams than we do. What is the talent drop from? I think was it Jack Lane that's their starter, and this Jack Wagner that's the backup. Is there really any kind of drop off? Because it seems like they're both extremely good.
Yeah, and I mean, ideally there isn't in any backup quarterback situation. You hope you don't have a tremendous fall off. I would guess that their ability to work within the offense is slightly different, just by some mobility characteristics. But really, you gotta, if you're doing a good job putting your team together and recruiting all of that, you're got to be designing it to not have that big of a fall off, just because. Um, like quarterback's the most important position, but it's also a guy that gets banged up, especially in this conference with the defenses we play against. So for them to be able to kind of stay on the same path with their one or two top guys, that is good. And I think they've shown that both of them are very capable players in this conference. That they can definitely do what it takes.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a major thing even going on to the next few seasons, because you look at all these quarterbacks for Idaho and they're freshmen and sophomores. They're young dudes. They're going to be around for a while unless something happens in the transfer portal, which could always happen. But there's a lot of talent there. They're all young dudes. They're going to get banged up now, but they'll heal, and then eventually it could become a problem.
Yeah. You know, I just have to wonder if, kind of like Marcus said earlier, Idaho, they got their eyes open pretty hardcore by the Bobcats.
Mm-hmm.
You can't imagine that they're going to want and do everything in their power to limit any kind of damage that Eastern Washington can do to them. And I just have to believe that Idaho is a quality team. Like I cannot believe that they aren't good all of a sudden, because they were so good at the beginning of the year. And yeah, losing your starting quarterback sucks, but their defense was unreal, and there hasn't been just a slew of injuries through it.
Yeah. And when you look at what Idaho has to play for based off of where they're ranked at, like they finished the season strong. They're still looking at getting a shot at the dance. They're definitely, like, their goose ain't cooked yet. So I think when you look at what every opportunity that they have left in front of them, it means that they're very much playing for extra games. I think Idaho could easily be a playoff team with a strong finish.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I really think that they're gonna quiet some doubters at this game. Eastern Washington is still just a middle of the Big Sky team right now. They can score points, but their defense gives up obviously more points than they're able to score based off of their record. I'm going to say that Idaho comes in and puts their foot down on these guys.
Yeah, and a pretty interesting game too. I mean, what those schools got to be like, probably not even an hour apart. Like, that's got to be about the closest home road matchup that our conference. I guess Davis and Sac, they're probably closer than Idaho and Cheney, but it's right neck and neck. So there should be some as much juice as those guys can have between both colors that be in the Kibby Dome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The old Kibby Dome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would agree. I think Idaho's going to win this game, even when they've struggled in games outside of Montana State. They've still found a way to win for the most part.
Yeah.
They did drop the one to UC Davis, but it was still a very close game. and UC Davis has shown that they are a very quality team. So I think Idaho is still in a tier above Eastern Washington, and I would consider them winning this game.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's exactly how you got to look at this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that was a quick pick 'em pod, man.
I mean, it was going pretty fast there, but I got a couple more things I got to ask Marcus. Okay, if you're still
Let's
with us,
hear it.
if you're still with
Yep.
us, okay, all right. So we've got a lot of new people on this coaching staff, and you just got your promotion, which was awesome. And they brought in a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, and it seems like everything has jumped up a level this year. Have you noticed the same thing within the coaching staff, and how does that happen?
It's not too many like new faces.
Okay.
Obviously it was within like both our coordinators were a part of the coaching staff last year. So to be able to kind of not have a big change. And I really don't know if it was something that the coaching staff has done as much as the way the season ended last year was just a wake-up call when we had the expectations that we had and the talent that we had. You really felt like we had what it took to make a big run, and then you just get punched in the mouth, and it's like, hey, this is different. We can't be able to rely on this, and that's where I really think when all is said and done, like the defining point of our season could be that win at Portland State. For us to go over, like that's kind of on paper probably how everybody thought that would work, but that's a tough place to play against in a bad situation for a team that doesn't have a very good record. And for us to go play as good as we played against them, just like it was a top tier opponent, if we can manage to continue that momentum, and I think that really came from within inside the locker room. A lot of we got 23 guys that are in there last year that were a part of how the season ended last year, and they don't want to be a part of something like that again. And so I think it's just a mindset where, like, yeah, we know that we have the talent that allows us to do it, but what are the other intangibles that we need to make sure that we're winning these games that matter? And I think that was a statement from the coaches in a lot of ways, but for the players and our internal leadership throughout the locker room, I really think that's where a lot of that came from. Being able to have such a big senior class, like those guys know how they want to go out, and they want to do it different than how it finished up last year.
Yeah. And to go back to that Portland State victory, I mean, the betting lines were at minus 21.5. And when the starters came out, it was 38-0. Man, I smashed that minus 21.5 hard. And thank God I did. It was great. I mean, not only did people think, not that minus 21.5 is, really that close, but for a team with that kind of record, you would expect a higher point spread. I thought it was honestly a little disrespectful to the Cats and what they've done this year to have a point spread quite that low. And they come out and made an absolute, I mean, they just put their foot on Portland State's throat and never let off.
Yeah, and we needed to play like that, but I think the message from us, like, we watched how dangerous Portland was in a lot of ways, and to kind of suffocate that win like that was kind of how you had to do it, because they're a team too, like we talked about with Sachere. That dude's got a second and third win that's going to keep them in the game if you let them. And we executed well enough to not let that kind of rear its head. But some other teams haven't done that, and if you kind of let off a little too early, they're going to be able to hang around. And then, so it was good that we were able to not let that kind of hinder us in any way. We were able to kind of get that one all the way through.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's pretty impressive what they went out there and did, especially after a pretty substantial injury bug hit and losing 3 starters on defense. And Polidor comes back and has been playing extremely well, but Neil Daly looked like he belongs. I mean, that kid's a stud.
that was something that like for us, Neil's been a guy that's been week in and week out. Like he's had a good career as a Bobcat in a lot of ways, and he got his opportunity. As you guys know, being the linebackers that you had to sit and watch since he's been here, like there's some really good players in that room, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
Neil just kept plugging away, and he got his opportunity, and I would agree, he went and did something with it. And that's really a staple, like what this team's kind of had is it's like a little bit of that next man up, and it's like, hey, and you watch him get his sack, he hits the tees up for Danny, like we're not playing for anybody but the Bobcats and I think that's something, especially where college football's at right now. You watch some real selfish stuff go on at times, and you watch a guy that gets his first college sack ever, and he hits the celebration of the guy that he's playing for because he got hurt a couple weeks ago. Like that's some uncommon stuff that our team has going in a pretty positive direction right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I gotta ask, do we get to see Justice coming anytime soon? Is he coming back?
Yeah, I think he's right on track to be able to get some football in this season. So,
Awesome.
Good.
yeah, he's been doing his thing. I mean, you want to talk about a guy that's working his tail off right now. There ain't nobody that wants to be a part of this season more than he does. So, um, he's
That's
definitely
good to
trudging
hear.
away.
Yeah, that's it. We all want to see him back out there. I mean, not that the offensive line has had any issues with anything. They've been extremely good all season long, but boy, it just seems like they're going to go nuclear when the leader of the O-line comes back.
Yeah, and more having too much is always having a good thing when you're talking about that position group. It's
Yeah.
not like you got too many wide receivers, you can't get them the ball. You got too many O line. Well, that's one thing Montana State's going to figure out a way to make use of all those guys. So
Yeah. And they're all pretty versatile too. We've seen guys in so many different positions throughout the year, and just switching to different assignments, and it seems pretty seamless so far.
yeah, real different than last year where it was like how fortunate we were that the same five guys played basically every snap for us that counted.
Yeah.
Um, Up until the last game where we didn't have rush at the end, but like, and then you look at it this year and it's been a combo of some guys playing tackle, some guys playing guard, new tackles. Luckily, the center position stayed really reliable in Justice's absence, but
Yeah.
yeah. You really take it for granted when your O line stays healthy, and then you have to do the old carousel like you hear about on Sundays where they're like, hey, this is the ninth combination of O linemen that this so and so NFL teams had to play like that. Not ideal for anybody.
Yeah.
I did see that North Dakota State got a bit of the injury bug here the last couple of weeks. They lost, I think it was 3 starters on defense. 3 like of their best players are all out with season-ending injuries, and that Cole Payton tore his labrum and he's out now. I mean, that's I mean, not that we've had our fair share, and now it's I mean, it's that time of the year you start seeing those injuries really start popping up on teams.
And I think that's been the mark of the team that has the opportunity to be the most successful in the FCS. Like we just don't carry this depth like the FBS does at this level, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like the war of attrition. Whoever's the healthiest team out of that top tier level at the end of the year usually ends up having the best chance at it, and a lot of that stuff ends up being out of your control. Like you lose some guys with some goofy stuff sometimes, and there's just like you just got to hope that whoever comes into play gives you a shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing that caught my eye was Sam Herder released his watch list for the Walter Payton Award, and Tommy come in at number 2.
Number
Yeah,
2.
That's that's impressive.
I think when you look at what he's done, like, and I don't want to jinx anything with Tommy, but he's definitely living up to Tommy Touchdown. Like he's being productive. Obviously, him being in good health throughout this entire season really shows what his ability is and can be, and he's a force, man. He's a great leader, and I'm glad that we don't ever have to play against him because I don't know how you game plan that guy. You want to talk about that Larson that we were talking about? How do you game plan him? Well, our number 4 is also kind of a nightmare.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And for us, he's a dream. He's a dream.
Yep.
He's a dream, not a nightmare at all. Just a living daydream. You know.
Yeah. No, it's pretty fun this year. I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like you said earlier, after last year, our expectations kind of got tempered. The coaching staff took a major reshuffling, lost some pretty good players to the transfer portal, and we came out the other end with a team that feels and looks the part. I mean, honestly, the real part of everything. And, the special teams is unbelievably good this year. The offense, the defense. I mean, it's just hard to poke a hole in this team right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that comes to some hunger. You leave some meat on the bone, that means you come back to the table hungry, and we're still doing a good job of that this year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Did you have it? What else did you have, Ben? You said you had two.
I said a couple, but I really just had the one major one.
You're good. I'm not on any time here, so if you got some other stuff, then go for it.
Okay. All right. So last year we went with the funniest guy in the locker room, and I feel like we need to know, is Marcus Weir still the funniest guy in the locker room?
He's still the funniest to laugh at.
Yeah. He doesn't know he's being funny, but he's funny.
Yeah. Now here's the thing: the addition of Rohan Jones.
Okay.
You want to talk about a personality that has entered the picture. Yeah, he is a very interesting person. He's very funny. Dude's got a lot to say. He's been a great addition for us this year.
Yeah.
And obviously he's playing really at a pretty high level too. So little bit of a dark horse candidate in there. Some of our freshmen, we brought in a couple DBs from Texas, and you want to talk about guys that they talk fast and it's funny, and you better keep up. But if you can hang in there with them, they're some funny dudes. So, but if you want to talk about a big personality addition, Rohan is probably leading the league in that category.
Yeah, and even in like 10-second clips during games or like just interactions we see on the sidelines, you can see that personality right away. That does not surprise me one bit.
No,
that's awesome.
He's been a great add for the Cats. He's a great kid, and I'm glad he's having a good year. I think his future at Montana State's gonna be pretty productive.
Oh yeah.
That's a big cat running fast, man.
Mm-hmm. He is a big cat,
Yeah.
As he carried 6 Portland State defenders into the end zone last weekend.
Oh my God, that was insane.
That was fun to watch.
Oh yeah.
The big man will not be denied on that one. But Rohan, he's kind of changed things a little bit from last year. The way they scheme him open, because when Tommy hits him, he is so wide open, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think it ends up like, you look at it like he wears 8. You see Derek Snell in a lot of ways. It's like, gosh, he was such a good player for us. And in some ways they're very similar, and in one way that they're very different is Rowe's just so fast.
Yeah.
Like for him to play the position that he does with the speed that he does, like he was the starting kick returner at Maine last year.
That's insane. That is insane.
And so when you look at just the pure ability that he has as just an athlete, and then you put him in the box and you get him some matchups that it's just like, there's some times where, and you look at the other people that people have to guard on our team, like it's very well rounded, and he just creates a mismatch. Just like you look at the best guys in the NFL, or at that tight end position, they all have something, whether it's size or speed, that causes defenses a lot of problems. And then being able to get them the ball. Like we kind of talked about it with UC Davis, but we're a hard team to defend too, man. We
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
we got some weapons.
There's
Yeah,
so
it's-
many weapons on this team. It's honestly, when we start out a podcast after a game, we will want to talk about everybody and bring everybody up who did amazing things in the game. And usually every week there is one or two guys that we just miss. And we've talked for an hour. You know,
Yeah.
that is how much talent is on this team, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're utilizing it well. And like we're celebrating the little victories for everybody in that. Like Jared White, somebody who had a really impactful season for a while last year. Not quite in the same role, but he ends up having a really big role at Portland State this weekend, and like played, had an impact, got in the box, like, and that's something where it's just like, hey, doesn't matter who it is, like we need to be successful for this. And then you watch those young guys get in there at the end, it's like, hey, we're celebrating that the same way, especially just those guys that are finishing it up for us. So we got some good things going, and we're definitely gonna get tested, and that's where I think you're gonna see the true measure of this Montana State team as we go through this last gauntlet of these last 4 games. If we're able to handle that the way I think we can, we're going to be tough to beat.
The disrespect is so real toward the Cats. I mean, I don't know that I have seen anything quite like it in recent years toward any team that has done what the Cats have done with, strength of schedule and all this other, for lack of a better word, bull crap. It's just like everybody's overlooking them, and all of a sudden it feels like they're creating kind of an underdog mentality for the Cats, who are a top, obviously top 2 school in the entire FCS, but the media and all the negative comments on social media and everything are just creating an underdog mentality for the team, or at least it feels like it.
Yeah, and I think we had that pedestal last year, and we felt that that didn't win us any games. Being able to say that, we're the top team in this circumstance, like what did that do against Idaho when we knew we were for sure a better team than them? Didn't pan out. This year it's like there's a bone to pick with those guys, and obviously they got everything we had to give them at that during that thing, and it's just like there's a little bit different mentality, and that being an underdog's way better for the Cats than being on that pedestal. And as long as we can continue to kind of play hungry, what did was it Jason Kelsey when Doug Peterson said "hungry dogs got to eat"?
Yeah.
Well,
hungry dogs run faster.
Yep. And so we got to continue doing that same thing. If we can be as productive as we are, and then the desire to just go get one more, the lack of satisfaction is good for the Cats right now.
Do you guys pay attention at all? Like, I know you try and build up probably some bulletin board material of stuff that's going on online, or the way people are thinking about the game, but the way Vegan operates and the way everybody on the team seems to operate, I don't get the feeling that they pay much attention to the comments. Do you guys really read much?
I guess I can't speak for everybody. I know, like, and even as much as I enjoy you guys in a lot of ways, like I haven't been listening to this as much, just because it's like week by week we need to focus on what's going to allow the Cats to be as successful as possible. And in the world of media that we live in right now, and obviously we have some really popular guys, but it's just like it's about the guys in the building more than it is any other opinion that's there. So is there some stuff that comes up? Yeah, I know, like they utilize Coach X's interview or his press conference a lot.
Yeah.
kind of socially, but we didn't that wasn't something that got brought up amongst the players. Like that's not the conversation. Like we're worried about the 22 guys on the field and how we can make sure that our guys are playing with the best game plan, with the best personnel and the best play calls out there, and give them a chance to win. So I know it's sometimes hard to do, but it's something that at least I know I've made a conscious effort, and I hope the rest of the team does. And that's something that's benefiting us right now is that the outside noise, just let that be noise.
Yeah. Well, you can rest assured that Ben and I have everybody's backs in the comments. We're right there trolling everybody.
You got two little pit bulls right here that every time somebody says anything, I'm nipping at their heels.
Yeah.
I'm not very intimidating, but I go after them.
and that ends up being good. Like it's got to be a pretty good life to be a Cat fan right now.
Oh yeah.
And we got to keep doing our stuff so that we can keep it that way.
Yeah. If I'm being real honest, I hope none of the Cat players listen to our podcast. Because if they did, they would probably have the biggest heads in the entire world. Because this season, since there's been so little for us to pick apart or anything, it's just been a love fest the entire time.
Yeah.
And people would get huge heads.
I don't even know if it's that. They just might file restraining orders against us.
that would probably be more likely.
Yeah. Like I know Rohan Jones would definitely file one against Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen those clips.
Yeah. He's a scary dude,
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
He's fun to have around. Yeah. That's what if you guys could ever have a conversation with him, you guys would love talking to him.
Oh yeah. We got to try and get him on at some point, he's a senior this year, isn't he?
No, he can come back.
Oh, he can come back? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll have our chance.
Yeah, I think he had 3 for 2. He's Canadian, so his clock's it's a little goofy.
It's a little goofy. Like he gets an extra year for crossing the border.
I'm not sure how that.
It's like the international date line.
Yeah. I'd imagine there'd be some people trying to take advantage of that if that was the thing.
Yeah. We're not very good at geography,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a great season, and it's killing me to have to go. I mean, I know it's not killing you guys to go on a bye week, but it is killing the fans to have to go on a bye week with what we've got to watch.
Yeah, and that's where the is it again?
No,
My bad.
No, you're here. You're here.
The it's fun to be a part of, and that's the thing where it's like what I think we're doing a much better job of right now is we can look towards the next week and not towards the ultimate goal. I think last year we had sights set on being national champs just because we knew the talent that we had, and I don't think we executed at a level where that was as practical as it needed to be. And this year it's just we can't get any of those goals if we don't win whatever the most important game is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, there's been an attack. There's been an attack. Watch out. Coach is getting caught. Coach is getting caught in the cuddle. Oh no. All right. Do you have anything else to ask Marcus?
I think that about covers it.
All righty. Anything else you want to say before you head out of
sounds
here?
good. No, this is fun, guys. So let's see if we get another bye week. Maybe we do it again.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Heck yeah.
I'm so glad to hear
Yeah.
that. Anytime I get to talk to you, Marcus, I'm happy about it.
That's what we're fighting for.
That's what
We got four games to get another bye, so we got to go.
That's
our end of
that's
it,
the
make
goal.
that
You're going to
happen.
put that up on the bulletin board. I got to get back on the Cats pod, so we need another bye week.
Yeah.
There's your
Yep.
bulletin board material right there.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds
Motivation.
good. You guys are doing a good job. Your merch is funny. You guys are good.
Okay,
It's,
we'll keep working
I'm,
on it.
I'm happy this is going good for you guys. Yeah, and if there's anything I can do, just let me know. I'm happy to do it.
We'll do.
Awesome.
Okay.
Appreciate you jumping on, man. Take care of yourself.
Yeah.
No problem. Thanks, boys.
Yeah.
See ya.
All right. See ya.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Go ahead and rate us 5 stars wherever you are listening to this at. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Bringing on Marcus once again. It's always a good time when we get to talk to him. Go ahead and follow us on Instagram and X at CatsPod. Go ahead and check out that merch page that Marcus just he's a better podcaster than we are. He plugged the merch for us. Okay.
Yeah.
Once again, thanks everybody for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will catch you later this week with a very, very special episode.
Adios.